When you play the traditional rivals and arch enemy, it's always great to get a win. And I suppose for us, it was good to see where we were with a young group of players. And I thought, through that second quarter, we could have gone into our shell after maybe squandering some opportunities in that first quarter, and to come out and play the way we did, and some of the boys respond, I thought was outstanding. I think it was more across the board, everyone taking, I suppose, their role. We moved Gibbs off, he's sure, who kept him to one possession, and he went and played half back. And I thought just across the board, Jared went forward, Simpson went off a wing to sort of forward. There was just a few things that really assisted us. So I thought it was a bit of a team effort, and I suppose everyone taking up the slack across the board that helped. I think the belief factor there's no doubt about it, that where before maybe, especially early in the season when we're sort of building and trying to get that synergy and cohesion with the team, I think now that we've sort of got most of the blokes settled. We've had a few changes here and there through parts of it, but now everyone's starting to understand each other a bit more, and okay, we're behind, but let's work our way through this. And I think it's a lot better, and maybe the way we approach it too. So if we get behind, do we need to come out and go in 5 minutes of footy and become even again? No, we just put our head down and work our way through it. Yeah, it was. Even at quarter time, you sort of go down there 2-7 to 1-2 or 3 or something like that, and you sort of think, we should be 5 goals here, and we've squandered a few opportunities. And across every aspect of the game, you sort of looked and thought, we just couldn't kick it through the goals. It was the last skill that we didn't execute properly in that first quarter. So probably for 3 quarters, we were the better team, and I thought we played well. Yeah, it's a funny thing. I think when Chris Judd does something, I think the footy world watches, and we microscope him and look at him and say, geez, is he had a limp, or is he not right, or this and that. I think he's just a tremendous competitor, and sometimes in the game of footy that you don't have some good quarters, and you don't have some passages of play, and you don't use the ball so well. But when the game was up for grabs, he's him, Murphy, Fev was playing well pretty much across the 4 quarters, but those blokes really stood up in that midfield and created a lot of run and drive for us. Probably 9 out of 10. I thought to get 14 shots at goal, kick 8 goals, outstanding display. I think Brendan's frustrated early that he couldn't kick him through the sticks. He was getting pretty good ball supply, taking great marks, but he couldn't finish his, the team's good work. And as you've seen across there, even just the way he shielded Wiggins to come back and take that mark and things like that, just the team aspect of his game is really growing from week to week. And right at the end there, he's still diving and chasing and tackling. And I think Brendan's really matured as a player about. He does the things that he does well, but he's also thinking of all these teammates around him. Yeah, I think it's fantastic for our supporters and the people that have been around here through some times that haven't been fantastic. But the hard work starts for us now. This is when it really starts. So we as a group need to roll our sleeves up and get really down and dirty and really push through this, because there's 10 games to go, and if we're good enough as a group, we'll make the 8, and if we're not, we won't. We never set any expectation that we were going to play finals football at the start of the year. We knew we had to work on a lot of aspects of our game, and we know that the development of younger players can come very quickly. Some can grow quickly and even in their first and second year can have a real impact. And then we know too that some take 3 years away. So from our point of view, we knew that we just had to put time and effort into our players, and then we'd reap the rewards, whether it was this year, next year, or even the year after. But we've still got a pretty tough draw on the way home, and we need to just keep chipping away at what we need to do for this year and next year going forward. So it's just a gradual improvement, I think, across every section of our club. Yeah, I think Bryce is a very accomplished player at senior football, and I think I stated last week that I thought his Geelong game was really well below his best, a long way off it. And then last week he played on Corns and did a great job, and this week he played on Shore for a while, and then he had a combination of different opponents in that second half of the game. He's a good player, Bryce, that's still learning the caper, and as young players do, you get the troughs of the good and the bad, but he's working through that to get the consistency right for his own game. Yeah, he's in very good form, Mark. I think his impact around the footy and then away from the footy is just as equally as important. He's in very good form, Mark. It did cross our minds whether to take him off the ground, but I suppose that might have allowed then Collingwood to really suffocate us, and they sort of did that through the second quarter. So we thought with Brendan there, it helped us set up our forward structure. Whether we could get the ball down there, that was sort of the biggest thing in that second quarter. We sort of dried up a little bit, and our usage wasn't great. And we sort of spoke about that at half-time, the effectiveness with the footy and our mistakes, especially by hands. But as we have done in the past and through games, we've worked our way through it, and it was very pleasing. No, not really. I think Collingwood's been in fantastic form, and I think the scores were dead even at three-quarter time. I just spoke to the players about, well, this is what we play for, isn't it? 80 odd thousand chance to make the 8. How much do we want it versus them? And we sort of just looked at everyone. I asked a lot of the players for a big effort because we sort of lost Grigg and we didn't know where he was at, and to come back on from a young man, he come back on in that last quarter, and he played his part as well. So I just asked the group for a big lift in that last quarter, because that's what you play footy, to be challenged against a very good team, 80,000 people. I think you get to see personally where you are individually and as a team, and I thought our group was outstanding. Yeah, it's a tough one. We spoke a little bit about it pre-game, that to play 150 games of AFL is a fantastic effort. The other debate we had was, if we go over it too much and go too far, he's got 100 games for Carlton in 3 weeks, so we didn't want to lose that impact as well. So we mentioned it, and he's been a fantastic contributor for us since he's come from Collingwood. I think we're mentally tougher across. I think with Chris coming into our team, it sort of gives some other players a bit of relief, and he sort of takes up a lot of slack for some others. But I think across the board, Carrazzo's really grown. Weight, we've seen, today he had to go forward and back, and I think across the board we're a lot mentally tougher as a group. I think they're taking more responsibility for what's thrown in front of them and how to deal with it. And as we speak about, sometimes you can't get the runner out there to say roll over or pick him up or do this. And I think we're getting a real understanding of what's expected week in, week out for a Carlton player. Well, we're going to play Essendon, who've just beaten West Coast last week, and we went and watched that game, and Lloyd was in fantastic form, and their backs work well together, and the way they move the footy, I think they're going to be very very hard to beat, Essendon. They're growing with some confidence after that win, after a bit of a downtrot. But I think for us, it's just to focus on what we have to do as, if it's Essendon or it's Geelong or Hawthorn, we need to focus on what we need to do as a group. And we've got a lot of football to play, 10 weeks of footy. We've just crossed the halfway mark, and if you ask me, would you like to be in the 8 at round 12? I'd say yes, but we know that we've got a lot of hard work to do.